Hello, and welcome to another Tristan Has Thoughts Destiny 2 discussion. Today I want to take some time and give my early impressions of the new Iron Banner mode Fortress. Now, as I'm not a PvP wizard, I'm sure my opinion will be worth less than those more in tune with PvP. The background gameplay should prove how terrible I can be, but I wanted to talk about why it felt extremely underwhelming to me. First off, let's talk about the addition to the game mode, a single new capturable zone. The mode is essentially the same as always, but with the need to both capture and neutralize zones. After so many zone captures, points, or a power play, all zones on the map will disable and a single Cabal drop pod will drop onto the map. A enemy, quote unquote, will spawn and leave behind a high value capture point. This becomes the only point of contest on the map, and whichever team captures it and holds it gets a large point boost every few seconds rather than on kills. When we were first told about how this new game mode would add a PvE element, I was excited. I think personally I may have expected a little too much, but I expected capturing the normal zones would summon Cabal allies to defend it or something of the sort. Something to spice up the minute-to-minute gameplay, and not a single event that spawns maybe 2 times a match and only aims to snowball a single team forward. Iron Banner can already turn into a giant rolling death ball, where if your team falls behind, the enemy team will snowball themselves into a giant lead. This new mode essentially allows the winning team to win harder, and I personally feel like that is a bad idea. The pod also always seems to spawn in the exact same spots, meaning it's very easy to control the area prior to the drop pod spawning. I think a lot of the same issues that plague capture point trials will continue to plague this new mode. I think another issue is that the Cabal reinforcements have very little health. With 2 teams fighting over the high value capture point that they spawn, they very quickly melt and pose very little threat. I think having some PvE enemies that posed a threat in some way would have been an interesting addition to the mode, but at this point, Kaido's Cabal are nothing more than cannon fodder. I also thought depending on the strength of said PvE enemies or how they were implemented, we could see a shakeup in the PvP meta in the mode. Many close combat beefy style enemies could have forced people to change from safe long distance style weapons, pulses, DMT, Titans, to more aggressive oriented weapons and loadouts. I don't expect this to happen at all. I imagine the meta will remain exactly the same as it is in the normal Crucible modes. It's possible the addition of the high-value capture zone will emphasize this even worse with more bubble sight and titans than ever before. I'm not overly qualified to speak on the PvP meta, but I don't expect this mode to shift people's loadouts at all. Perhaps this was my expectations falling in the wrong lane, but I personally think this comes across as a super underwhelming game mode. Every 5 to 6 minutes the game will shift for a few moments but instantly go back to a capture point focus. These again are just my first impressions, but the few games I played did not excite me enough to go back in and try to play the new mode more. We essentially got Iron Banner control, but instead of hunting after capping all 3 zones, you hunt after capping 1 high value zone. Let me know your thoughts below. Am I being too harsh? Do you think the mode having a large centered objective is better than classic 6v6 control? Be sure to remain respectful in the comments and I will respond to any that I see. A reminder that I do upload daily, so be sure to subscribe if you like this kind of content, and remember, for each like this video gets, a capybara gets a big scritch.